Hello, everyone. And for some, I guess it's welcome back. And for others, it's welcome to the second day of our introductory workshop for Go Social CY. We will be doing a short recap right before we begin. So hopefully you'll catch up with that. I'm going to quickly move on to some of the ground rules we went over yesterday. It's a good thing, I guess, that this workshop is being recorded, as was the one we did the day before. So if you do want to catch up, and it is in fact your first day here with us, you will have the chance to go back and have a look at doing a short recap in a few moments. Just to make sure that for future sessions, please do come on time. We're here for 3 hours. It's a long time to be connected to your laptop, so please do come on time so we make sure we can cover everything in the best possible way. If at any time you need to leave your computer and momentarily part ways with us, then please do so as quickly as possible, and please make sure that you come back and join us as quickly as possible. We hope that you will not be trying to multitask, doing things on your phone, or maybe getting some chores done, maybe sewing some buttons that needed sewing. Please, if you can, treat this like you would any other classroom or workshop situation. That means that you pay attention to everything that goes on. I'm hoping that that's what you do in class if you do happen to be in a classroom environment. But just make sure that we have your full undivided attention. There will be moments where we will be asking you questions via some polls. So it's important that you're aware of when that's happening so you too can interact with us. We also have handouts on your sidebar. You will see some drop-down menus, and there is a handouts section where you will find the presentations from the day before and also today. On there is also an agenda, and it outlines what time we will be doing what presentation, as well as when we have our Q&A sessions. So basically, the idea is that if you have any questions, again on your sidebar, there should be a question section. At any point you have a question, please feel free to write it in there and send it to us. We have our lovely colleague Dimitra with us, and she will be collecting these questions. Hi, Dimitra.
Hi, everyone. Welcome again.
And she will then be asking those which we can answer within the designated question and answer session that we have. We will have 15 minutes to do that in the middle and then a bit at the end. And if not, we will be getting back to you in writing through a document where we will accumulate all the questions that you have asked. And just to make sure that everyone's clear on this, you will be receiving a certificate of participation upon the successful completion of the workshops. So I referred to the polls earlier, and if you ever realize that you're having problems and you're clicking and it seems to be frozen, then there is a button right on the side of the close button, which is to get out of full screen mode. If you click on that, the poll should start working. If it still doesn't work, don't worry. We're only using these internally and not for any serious statistical reason. So don't stress about it too much. I'll briefly go over what Go Social is. We are a bi-communal project funded by the European Union, and we started the project in 2018. It is a 3-year project, and we will be terminating in 2021. We've got 3 partners who are implementing this project. I'm here on behalf of the Famagusta Walled City Association, also known as Master. We have Kyriaki and Dimitra on behalf of Akti from Nicosia. Yasu!
Hello and welcome back. Thank you for joining.
And last but not least, we have Sherifa, who is not on your screen at the moment, but she will be mentoring later on the group work section, which you can see highlighted in green. And she's here on behalf of the Famagusta Walled City Association, also known as Makamer. So the project aims to support employability. Now, what does that mean? So basically, we're here to raise awareness on social entrepreneurship and to give you skills of becoming a social entrepreneur so that you can then initiate your own enterprise ideas within the social context. And also by doing so, creating other employment opportunities. So in a nutshell, that's what the project is aiming to do, and you are actually now participating in one of our capacity building activities, which is the introductory workshop. So yesterday we talked a bit about the key knowledge and skills for self-employment. We gave examples of different types of social enterprises. Today what we're going to be doing is focusing more on the business development for social enterprises, and we will be doing that through examples. And we've got our two very knowledgeable and experienced experts with us, Dr. Michalis Loizides and Dr. Yannis Fesas. They want to wave?
Hi. Hello.
Hello again. And then tomorrow, the idea is that I will talk a bit about this at the end as well. What's going to happen is that tomorrow, those of you who want the practical experience of what it means to take an idea and transform it into more tangible and concrete steps into realizing that idea, we will be working in groups with mentors to actually write out and develop a business model. So if you have any interest in that, I'm going to talk a little bit about what we went over yesterday. So essentially, in summary, a social enterprise is like any other enterprise, but it has a purpose. It has a social or environmental goal that is built into its mission and how it works. So there are four areas generally. One of them is other, which could mean a lot of other things, but the main areas of social enterprises is in work integration. That means you are taking a group of individuals or a group of people who are either struggling to find work or who are discriminated against, which is why they can't find work, and you are presenting them with the opportunity to become employed, self-sustaining individuals. So there's a social enterprise that does that, and they're often known as WISE, W-I-S-E. The second field is personal social services. I'm trying to talk fast here. And that's basically any work area there where you would expect to be working with people, to be offering them some sort of service. It could be with the elderly, it could be with childcare, or any aid and help that may be going towards disadvantaged people again. The third section, the third field, is the local development of disadvantaged areas. And yesterday we gave some examples of this from other European Union states. The example of the record company, the recording company, which is located at where the high-end rich people live in town and where the so-called ghetto was. And right in the middle, they formed this recording company, and it brought the two so-called divided sections of the city where they could actually exchange ideas and share their culture and become more of an integrated community. So I'll be presenting other examples as well. So these are some examples from our stakeholders work, our preparatory workshop we did back in December, and you may have actually participated in them as well. So here are some ideas, and if you want to take a quick screenshot right now, go ahead and do that. What we're aiming to do with the group work is that later on, you will take an idea for a social enterprise. It doesn't have to be your own. We're giving you ideas. Ideas are a lot easier to come by than actually sitting down and making that happen. And if we're going to move on to what we were talking about yesterday, Dr. Fesas was talking about, there's a lot more that is required to get an idea off the ground and for someone to be a social entrepreneur. And a lot of the things we said are commonly known, but are rarely practiced. And what's important is that you got to remember that you need to put in the effort and you need to be persistent. You can't quit. You got to go on with it. And if you face an obstacle, then that should not be seen as a stop sign, but rather, okay, here's another hurdle I need to overcome. You need to come in with the creativity and the solution finding skills. I won't say problem solving. I'm trying to break that habit. and you got to be patient with it, and it also takes practice. So we had a question from yesterday which we were unable to answer during our Q&As, but someone mentioned that they have so many ideas, they have all these ideas, but yet when it comes to actually starting one of them, they find themselves procrastinating. Now, I definitely experienced things like that a lot, so I can relate to that feeling, but I think some of it comes from one, not necessarily practicing those muscles of, okay, I have an idea, how do I go from here? Like, where do I go from here? Where do I start? And I think that's just like any muscle in the body. If you're a chess player, you gotta play chess every day. If you're a runner, you gotta exercise every day. You know those chefs who chop onions really, really crazy, and they're not even looking at the onion, and they can do like 50 in a minute or something. It's like that. It's because you gotta practice that. You gotta do it. So what we're hoping to do with the group work tomorrow, and some of you I know wanted to work one-on-one as well. The aim is to get your brain to think in that way so that ideas don't just remain as ideas, but you can start taking action and get them going. So if yesterday you did not express interest in that, just give it some time. As Yannis said, keep an open mind, be open to experiences, even if you're not there to discuss your own idea. Maybe you can contribute in other ways and just see how it happens. And I'm sure once you're there for a few minutes, you're going to want to chip in with some ideas and start taking action as well. So we have our beautiful word cloud from yesterday. This is all of your contributions here. And thanks to Dimitra, Dimitra has put this into a wonderful cloud for us, and we'll make this available as well. But this is just a little something inspiring to get you going, to think about what it is we can do with social entrepreneurship. So I'm a minute over my time. Without further ado, I'm going to give the floor to Yannis so he can continue talking about the basics in setting up a small business. So Yannis, you've got the screen. All yours.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you. While I was looking at this presentation again in preparation for today, I realized that quite a bit of the information was presented during the training of trainers sessions, and of course we can refer to those. They will be available in any case to the participants of this particular 2-3 day sessions, and we may go back to them quickly. The idea today is to talk about the basics in setting up an enterprise from scratch. So we'll focus on setting up your own idea and how to start a small business. It's very strange to say how to start a big business. It's not so, that's not the aim. The aim is for individuals or very small groups of individuals to start a small business and make it grow. So what is the entrepreneurial process? Because we have now a series of slides talking about sources of entrepreneurial ideas. The entrepreneurial process starts with the creation of entrepreneurial idea. The creation comes to a person's head. After looking around, something clicks and it sparks an idea. That idea has to be researched in a way so that it can be identified with the entrepreneurial opportunities. Why is it a business idea? It's a business idea because it creates or identifies opportunities that need to be addressed for the benefit. And of course, opening the entrepreneurial venture. 1 and 2 could be in your head, it could be on paper. But opening an entrepreneurial venture, it means taking action. So as an entrepreneur to be, you have to remember always that the business must be firmly founded on the existing business opportunities. And there can be no business opportunities in the absence of an entrepreneurial idea. You can see now that the two go together. It's not an academic exercise if you want to proceed to implementation. As a contrast, the owner of an ordinary small business usually opens a business even if there are no business opportunities existing in the community. This sounds a little strange, but there are a number of cases, quite often, where somebody decides to start a business without really looking at the opportunities that exist. I'll give you an example, which now, of course, it's not a small business, it's a big business. All over Europe, in airports, in railway stations, bus stations, you will see enterprises, usually unique in that they take up the whole opportunity created in that space, selling coffee. Now, they realized that people in traveling to work, from home to work, they have to go through a mass transport system to catch the bus or the train or the plane. And to pass their time, they just buy a coffee. Well, that created an opportunity. You just look around, you'll see now almost in every street, in every place where people pass by, they take a cup of coffee, either cold in the summer or hot in the winter, and carry it with them while they are walking to work. So where do we get the ideas from? The ideas will be coming from observations we make for changes in the environment, and we explain environment later on. Changes in the environment, technological discovery and advancement, things, for example, that were not known before, now they are known and they can be used. Governments thrust programs and policies. Governments do create laws, they create programs, they have ideas about improving the world we live in, and this creates opportunities. People's interests, which could be their hobby, it could be their profession as it develops through retirement. And of course, past experiences, things that we have experienced, they created a number of question marks in our heads, and we are thinking perhaps how we can capitalize on that. So, changes in the external environment. The environment can be the physical environment, the societal environment, and the industrial environment. These need to be kind of understood a little differently, but they are part of what is around us. The physical environment could be the climate, could be the natural resources, it could be the wildlife, and anything else living and non-living around us, which needs to be addressed, to be preserved, to be cared for. The societal environment includes the various forces like the economic forces, the socio-cultural forces, the political forces, the technological environment. So society is alive, is active, and it produces stimuli for us, and these stimuli can lead to entrepreneurial ideas. The industry environment of a business will include the government and the laws it makes, the competitors and their actions or inactions, the suppliers and the choices they give us, the customers and the way they behave, and the preferences and their demands, creditors who have their own rules in supplying credit or money, and of course the employees. They're also live people around us. We call them employees because they decided to come and work in a situation where somebody else created the idea and they felt they can help or they can obtain income from it. But they're thinking people. So a good employer will want his good employees to stay, and the good employees will need to get the encouragement to stay if they like it. But they always have the free choice to move. So whoever implements the idea has to keep this in mind, that everything around him, in fact, around her, is dynamic. So as an entrepreneur, you must be able to observe keenly and be vigilant to the reactions of the people to the changes in the external environment. It may or may not be the implication, but you must determine, therefore, what changes have entrepreneurial indications. In other words, keep your eyes and ears open. And of course, this goes further, keep your mind open. An example, which came out of our research on the internet, basically, changing climate, either summer or rainy season. What kind of business venture is the best to respond to the needs of the people during summer and the rainy period or winter? In some places there is no winter, but there is certainly a rainy period. Just look around and see what might be needed to respond. Technological discovery and advancement. The use of technology is another good source of entrepreneurial ideas and opportunities. And the example here, which is quite useful, a person with sufficient knowledge in the repair and installation of a mechanical engine discovered that the additional engine parts he installed during the repair had reduced considerably the fuel consumption of such mechanical engine. Well, he discovered that. What could he do about it? He could actually start a business promoting the refurbishment of engines so that they become more energy efficient. It is a business opportunity. Identified. What's the next step? Do we take advantage of it or not? Then we have the government's trust program and policies. And by government, we refer to local government, which could be municipal, city, or provincial, or the central government and its branches. Whenever there are changes in the policies and programs of the government, new entrepreneurial ideas are likely born. Just an example that comes to my head. We need to file tax returns and fill out forms. Now it's all done or encouraged to be done electronically, and we'll see an increase in that. But there are people in the meantime who are not computer familiar. They don't feel comfortable to make their tax returns and submit their payments and obtain the information electronically. So people who are literate in computers can actually start a business helping all those that will are caught up in the middle of this process. As society progresses, more people will become literate, so the opportunity will fade out. But now it exists. People's interests could be hobbies, could be preferences of people that create a richness of business ideas. There are many people who need to pass their free time, and for this free time, they may need products, they may need services. So we see now around us the creation of various venues like internet cafes, amusement parks, nice spots and nature farms, just to mention a few. And these are opportunities which are related to people's interests. Past experiences and exposures. Expertise and skills developed by a person for having worked in a particular field may lead to the opening of a business enterprise. This can happen at any time in one's career, or I have seen it very often happening when people retire. They still want to carry on doing what they've been used to be doing by helping others. So if an auditor, for example, or an accountant has learned the appropriate auditing and management advisory skills and techniques, in any firm, small or big, can choose either by leaving or after retiring to carry on doing this for a group of clientele that he can build, he and she can build up. So how do you evaluate the ideas and the opportunities? As I mentioned yesterday, there are lots of ideas. There are many good ideas, but very good ideas are few. The difference is the many good ideas and the very good ideas. The very. One idea will make it to implementation. You cannot do everything at once. So out of all those ideas that come to your head or your team around you, you will be choosing one to move ahead. So they have to be created, they have to be evaluated, they have to be researched, and of course, implemented under the right conditions. So raw ideas are many and possibly free. You can hear ideas all around, but they become opportunities only after they are researched, and these are not free, because to do the research and define the boundaries of success, you need to do some very serious work, and it's this serious work that will eventually lead you to the plan that will be implemented and make the idea into reality. Not every small business is positioned for success. So we need now to look at a series of slides for the 10 steps to start a small business. And this small business can be a social enterprise, it can be any other enterprise, but there are certain steps that have to be followed. Not all make it. Some will make it for the first 2 years, some can last up to 5 years. So there are statistics of success, and success depends how strong one is committed to make it work and how one adapts to the various problems that appear and have to be addressed and reevaluated and replanned so that they bring the business back into course. So we look at these 10 steps. Do your research. What do we mean by that? Do your research. Look around. collect information, ask questions, or make observations. You may have already identified the business idea, so it's time to look at the reality around you. What is the environment in which you will be setting up the enterprise? Does your idea have the potential to succeed? Of course, you believe so, but check it out. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And the idea is not to come to answers like it cannot be done. The idea is to come up with answers telling you how it can be done, how the difficulty can be overcome. You will need to run your business idea through a validation process before you can go any further. Before you start spending lots of money and time, you need to really think it out. In order for a small business to be successful, it must solve a problem, fulfill a need, or offer something the market wants. So you got an idea because you've been observing the environment, you've been observing the market. You probably identify a problem, well, define it in a way that others will take on your proposal, which is the business you're trying to create. So there are a number of ways you can identify this need, including research, by using focus groups or even trial and error. As you explore the market, some of the questions you should answer include, is there a need for the anticipated products or service? Well, if there is a need, rush. Others will see the opportunity also. But who needs the product or service? Are there other companies offering similar products or services now? They are your potential competitors if they have not already started and they're ahead of you. What is the competition like? Competition will emerge. When they see you being successful in the market, it will spark their ideas, also maybe come up with improvement. So you have to be alert all the time. What is the strength of that competition? Is it serious? Is it not serious? How will your business fit into the market? Okay. In the environment you choose to operate, how is that business going to fit? Don't forget to ask yourself some questions too about starting a business. Therefore, before you take the plunge, for example, do you have the stamina? Do you have the physical and mental health to be able to take on the problems and the challenges? Things are not going to be easy because you will be dropping something which maybe is secure and moving into something which is volatile, it's new, you have a lot of things that you have to learn along the way. Do you have the strength to do it? And do you have the support of the family and your loved ones around you to be able to take on the challenge? And now we have to make a plan. This is a big word, plan. You need a plan in order to make your business idea a reality. A business plan is a blueprint, it's a model that will guide your business from the startup phase through establishment and eventually business growth. And it's a must-have for all new businesses. There are business plans which are examples, models, and the bankers and the financiers look at these. But the business plan can actually be even on a small piece of paper, just outlining what exactly the path you intend to follow. And believe me, it makes sense to write things down. When you write things down, it means you have thought about them. They make sense when you read and read and read over again. If writing something down, it's a commitment, even though you may modify and change it later. Plan the finances. Where is the money going to come from? The money can come from loans, investors, grants, crowdfunding, which you can talk about this later, or a combination of these. But you have to plan for the finances, because starting up, there are finances which need to be expended only once, just at the beginning. But there are also finances which are needed on a day-to-day basis for 1 or 2 years. So for at least 12 months, you need to have a plan where is the money going to come from and how it's going to keep you going. And don't forget to count also your own salary. Many people think, I work for myself, I don't pay myself. Well, nonsense. Of course you have to pay yourself. You have to pay yourself because you already left something else from which you've been paid, and now you choose to start your own business. You still have needs, personal needs to address, so you need to count your own salary. You may not receive it and have it coming later on, but in the books at least you should be accounting for that money. We have to choose a business structure. It could be a company, it could be a partnership. There are a number of options, and of course we have the additional option according to the upcoming legislation to turn it into a social enterprise. Pick and register your business name. This does not, this sounds easier than it actually is. A business name is what will identify you as your business grows. I have a question here, an example here, which it happened to me many years ago when we decided to make a product with a colleague of mine, which was a cleanser disinfectant for baby bottles. And we called it Nino. And when we tried to register Nino, we got objections from a company in Switzerland, believe it or not, that produced a product called Zeno. In fact, if you turn the first N 90 degrees, you will read Zeno, and that was a cleaning solution for jewelry. Nothing in common. Yes, there was something in common because they are under the common category of cleaning products. So it created a lot of difficulty in trying to give ourselves a name that will carry the product through and get it known to the public. We all know the myth of Coca-Cola. There was a myth that the Coca-Cola formula is secret. With today's chemistry, we know exactly how Coca-Cola is made, but nobody can call it Coca-Cola. The name belongs to somebody else. So we have to do careful work here. We may need licenses and permits. There are some enterprises that need a license to start. They need permits from the municipality, from the government, from authorities. We need to choose an accounting system. If you are a small enterprise, of course, this can be done by outsourcing this service through an accountant, or eventually we may buy an accounting package and do it ourselves, dedicating some of our time to keep track of all the finances. We have to set up the business location. Where are we going to operate from? Is it a home? Is it a shared private office? Is it an incubator? Where is the business going to be located? And of course, we have to get our team ready. When we start, the team is a one-person team. It's ourselves. But we need assistance. We have to choose those people very carefully. And those people, we want to choose them in a way that they will stay with us. We convince them to stay with us, because as they work, they learn, they get experience, and they contribute. And of course, we have to promote the small business. We have to let it be known that we exist. We have to create a unique selling proposition, it is called. Use it in our media, in our advertising, in our promotion. Get it known that we exist. For years, the Cyprus economic scene is dominated by enterprises performing traditional activities. Now, the voice of the younger generations who possess technical knowledge for modern entrepreneurial activities will be heard, and the old enterprises either adapt or disappear. Keep this in mind. We've seen many enterprises complaining that the world is changing. Of course it's changing. They should have noticed this long time ago and adapt. They cannot adapt. They will eventually disappear. The same could happen to your enterprises as the environment develops and new skills become available in the community. So we need to plan, we have to be patient, we have to work hard, and once we have completed the business plan, once you have completed these business startup activities, you will have all of the most important bases covered. Keep in mind that success doesn't happen overnight, but use the plan you've created to consistently work on your business, and you will increase your chances of success. So, without much ado, I will leave the floor open, and you can come to questions, clarifications later on. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Yannis. I'm just wondering if after all of that, people may have been too engrossed in the content. I basically almost forgot what time it was, because again, a lot of the things you say, we know some of these things, and it feels like, oh, we've heard this one before, but when it comes to actually doing it again, like writing things down and doing the research, a lot of people would say, oh yeah, I have this idea, and I want to turn this into a business, but then when it comes to backing it up with the research and the preliminary work, it's not there. I kind of liken it to when you buy something from like a furniture store and you have to build it yourself, and people look at the instructions and they go, oh, it's basically logic, I can go ahead and do this, and then they're left with this one piece and they don't know what to do with it.
I use an example quite often. It's like running through nature, okay? And you come to a stream, okay? And you need to jump to get to the other side. If it's a clear day, you can judge the distance, you can judge your strength, you can evaluate the situation. But suppose there is a mist, suppose there is, you cannot see clearly where the other side is. Will you jump?
Probably
you
not.
will not. You will not jump. And it's this leap we are talking about. The more you research, the more clearer the other side becomes, and you can take the decision, yes, I will jump because I can make it. No, I will not jump, I need assistance. No, I will not jump, I need to put a stone in the middle of the stream so that I can have a stepping stone to make a two-leap pass. So keep this picture in mind. Research clears the environment and lets you make a better, more wise decision. You still have to make the leap.
Definitely. But
Yeah.
it's just that you're eliminating the risk rather than going ahead.
That's right.
Knowing
That's
that there's a risk there, because the
Yes.
idea is to guarantee, to plan for success, not necessarily to plan to work against yourself, because you are going to be putting in a lot of hard work. And at the end of the day, like you said yesterday, it is all on the entrepreneur himself or herself.
Yes, yes.
You
Okay.
are essentially a one-person team. In the meantime, Dimitra, are we getting any questions in or anything so far?
Not yet. But
Not
we should
yet.
give it-
Okay.
yeah. I will
We'll give it-
also put Mr. Michalis Loisidis in the discussion. Maybe he wants to share something.
Absolutely. I'm just quickly going through some of the questions we had yesterday, but I'm just wondering about the upcoming group work that's going to happen. I'm thinking that some people, I mean, when I first heard about it and I saw the model, the canvas itself, it seems a little intimidating for someone who hasn't necessarily seen that before. Maybe you can talk about how just to put people at ease as a first timer seeing this canvas and hearing the word business model, because for someone who doesn't come from that background, it could be a little intimidating, as I said. How would you recommend that people approach this this exercise? If any one of you would like to start.
Yes, Yanni, if I may say just one
Yeah,
or two things.
please,
In
yes.
the sense that we all understand that the puzzle, the issue of a business is many pieces of different activities, different ideas, different approaches. So in order to have the picture, you have to put together certain pieces of the puzzle. Okay, so this is all about. You cannot just go around, because many of us in our enthusiasm usually focus in one area of this effort, of this new social enterprise. And what we are trying to show through this canvas is that, yes, it's true, the idea is there and the focus is there. However, in order for this vehicle to move, you need also this, and these parts in order to have an operating social enterprise. So it's not an idea, it's an enterprise, and this is the whole idea, the whole effort through this canvas.
Well,
Yanis, is there anything you would like to add?
yes, the key word here is model. We talk about a business model. What is a model? A model is just a picture, if you like, of what you imagine to do, okay? And you use it as a guide. We use models in engineering, we use models in economy, we use models in forecasting, because they give us a modus operandi, a method of working towards a goal. It doesn't mean that the model is perfect. In fact, I don't think there are perfect models, okay? So by business model, we are actually referring to the way we are imagining our business to work, understanding that a lot of the things, a lot of the pieces that have to be put together may not be known well to whoever is starting up the business. And that's why we emphasized yesterday also how one has to learn how to learn. We don't know everything, okay? And we learn by observing others around us, but within a context. The context is our the model. At the beginning of today's session, I referred to the training of trainers presentation, which contains some of the tools which can be used to research ideas, to refine ideas, to evaluate projects. And if we have time later on, we can jump to that quickly. There isn't much to say. It's just that we mustn't be blinded by the enthusiasm.
Yeah,
The enthusiasm, there is no, we mustn't be blinded by the enthusiasm. As you said, Mihaly, we focus on our main idea, forgetting that there are a lot of other things that we have to keep our eyes on and our ears peeled so that we adjust the way we move through to our goal.
If I may use two of the issues that were raised in your presentation, and it's very important for tomorrow's canvas, is that the 2/3 of the efforts that are being made until now are falling apart in, sorry, 1/3 in 2 years. Almost half of the efforts are being abandoned in 5 years. The reason for that, and I was actually cooperating with a few of those people, we saw that 90% of the mistakes that led to this failure was foreseeable, and we could prevent it. If they had this matrix from the beginning, if you have this as you said, this operation procedure, this map, this picture, we could, you could share it with friends, with other people, and then they would ask you, have you thought of this in this area? I'm a bit specialized on this issue. I had this problem. I fell because I didn't foresee this. And so this community, this friendship, wise, if I may use this, it can be used in your side to, in favor of you and to overcome or prevent obstacles that you put for yourself and you don't know it. It's there, are foreseeable.
Yeah. Foreseeable, and it's even worse if you can foresee it and then you don't do anything to rectify that from the get-go. Thank you, Yannis and Michalis, for that. I believe we have one question from the from our participants. Dimitra, if you want to go ahead and shoot the question.
Yes, of course. There is just one comment I would like to share with you before the question, is that the audience does not have a lot of questions because Mr. Yannis is doing an amazing job of explaining.
I'm sure of that.
So
we only have the best here.
Yes, of course. So the question is, can several fields of work be combined in one enterprise? For example, work integration and training together. Will it have a bias failure at the end if we start with a large business?
Well, I wouldn't discard it. It's just that if people who are inexperienced in starting and setting up new businesses, they could lose their focus if they have too many desires at the same time. They can phase them in slowly. So rather than risking losing focus, I would say take your main idea. Don't forget that when others see your success, will copy. And this is a big danger. We've always, all of us have been copied. I've been copied myself. Michalis has been copied because others see our success in something we started. They realize, this is a good thing for me too. They jump in. If they have the ability, they could become serious competitors. If they don't have the ability, they disappear. But they do create distractions. Therefore, we cannot do too many things at the same time. We'll be dividing our forces and probably not do justice to our abilities.
Yes, maybe Dimitra could repeat, just because I lost one phrase and it was very important. Could you repeat?
Okay, sure. So can several fields of work be combined in one enterprise? For example, work integration and training together. Will it have bias, failure at the end if we start with a large business?
Start with a large business. I thought that rely on a large business at the beginning, because I saw many social enterprises starting very successfully by using the facilities and the support of existing big businesses. The big business did not interfere really in their everyday effort. However, they gave them the relaxation that you need from the beginning. Let's say a place, an office to sit, and usually I can see that in Cyprus in family business. I mean, a son comes back or a daughter and says, "Father, I don't really want to get mixed with what you are doing. Can I do something different? I will have my office, I will have my secretary, all things. I will use your facilities and I will start." So this is a way. The second is something that actually Yannis introduced in Cyprus, and it's called, Yannis, when you bring many small businesses together.
Yeah, the mini income earners, we call them, remember?
Exactly, I just left you to say that. It's an amazing idea. So many people with different ideas come together and they share facilities. I remember when Yannis told me this mini income earner, he said, okay, for this thing that we are doing in my backyard, how many workers do I need? 1/4 of a worker. Well, I cannot just cut in the middle on 1/4 of the workers. So if I could share that worker with others, it would be perfect. So I need a cooker, I need somebody for this, the other. Can you share? So this sharing is something that I believe for the small business will eventually become a very important asset to be able to cooperate.
In fact, Mihaly, it's a great tool. These mini income earners.
We used it and it worked. Yes.
Yes, because it translates also to the need of good training, because if you use 1/4 of a worker here and the other 1/4 of the same person, physical person, somewhere else, they have to be trained in the different things they do. So we are coming back to what I defined again yesterday as small business. There are many roles in the same person, and that person has to have the ability to play many roles, just being changed around. Many times I have said that small businesses need gems, they need diamonds, they need gems, and these gems are hard to come by, but they can be trained if they get in the right framework of mind. They have to be open-minded to be able to learn many skills, become multi-skilled, so that they can fit anywhere.
Thank you so much, Yannis. It seems that we have another question that has just emerged. So Dimitra, if you want to go ahead.
Sure. So there's a person asking that Mr. Yannis said we can start with a small business. So I need to know which of small business and how much money can I invest from the beginning. So do they need to know from the beginning what kind of small business is it and how much money should they invest?
Yannis, before you answer, I'm just saying that in my presentation, I have exactly this issue that will be discussed. However, please go ahead. So I will discuss this issue, yes.
The question, of course, is very valid. how much money will I need? Or you are the only one who can calculate this money or estimate it as much as you can, because as close as you can. Because if you look carefully at the notes I had on my slide, there are those expenses that need to be done, need to be made before you even start. Before you even start, even inviting people or in a little ceremony to inaugurate your new premises, you'll have to find this money and spend it. How many are you going to invite? What are you going to offer them? And then after all those initial costs, which you are the only one who can calculate them, surely by asking questions to the right people, then you have to estimate how much will I need for a year. If I get an employee, I have to pay him. If I am into premises, I have to pay the rent. I have to pay the electricity. I have to pay the water and the taxes. How much will I need? So you have to ask these questions, collect the information, and make an estimate. You may be successful and make much more than you anticipate, but you could also go wrong. Things don't go so well as you anticipated, so you'll be running short of money. Who is the last to get paid? Yourself. You pay everybody else, but your salary, which has to be accounted for, will just go in the books in the red, and when there is surplus, then you get paid. My company owes me quite a few 100,000.
Generally, just to round it up, this one, I will commit myself to answer exactly with exact examples, with money oriented on this issue.
Okay.
And I was just going to say that I think Yannis and Michalis, at this point, it's better to be honest than to try and say something encouraging and then have it not turn out that way. So it is what it is. It is, as we said, it's an issue of being an entrepreneur, and all these things are very valid issues. So Michalis, I'm going to let you talk more about that and enlighten us on that. So you have the screen.
Thank you. I want to thank Yannis. We started many things together, and I believe that we are really relaxed to just allow me to show my screen. Okay. I think that you can see now. Yes, I can.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, but before I start, I wanted to say something that is very important for all of us. There is a huge difference between the conventional, the business as usual, as we call them, and the social enterprise. And I will, yesterday, I was waving at you because you didn't open my microphone. I managed to open my video, and I was showing you the word freedom. I'm very happy with my life, and I want to share this happiness with all of you that you are now watching. Because when I was approximately 30, 32 years old, I decided to go into these social enterprises. And there are many reasons that the social enterprises rarely fail. And the reason is that because they are actually followed by society, followed by people that they believe in you and in your dream. And so it's very, very, very difficult to go back and tell them that, well, sorry, but I failed. You will stay there making the most of you, you will make the best of you to make it happen. On the contrary, when you do something with business as usual, the conventional one, well, you only fail 1 or 2 clients and the banks. could actually you feel very comfortable in giving to, in doing things that are not so the banks are not so happy. Now, if I can go back in this issue that I'm saying, is that when you are following your dream, you make a commitment to you, your family, your friends, your society. So it's very unlikely that you are going to go back and fail. That's why we tried, let's say with Yannis, 15 businesses, let's say half of them failed, none of the social enterprises, none. So that's why I'm so confident to propose to others to come in this dream. Another thing, and I said it before, is the freedom. They usually put you in a queue and they tell you, your family, your friends, that you have to find a job. And you are queuing in multinational companies, waiting for them to evaluate you. For God's sake, I mean, how humiliating this is for me. I said, why shouldn't I do something myself? There are so gaps in my society. Can't I just find those gaps and do something about it? And this could bring me, could create, could form the job that I would really be happy of doing. I come on Monday to my job, to my work, and I feel ever so enthusiastic, and I'm 43 years old, 53 years old, sorry. So this is why you will see this enthusiasm in me, not because I want to pass something that I've never tried, but because I tried it and I'm so happy. And I told you yesterday that I'm even thinking of transferring my business, my limited company, the one that brings the money, okay, that is money-oriented business, into social enterprise, because all the employees are not employees, they are just colleagues. We are all struggling for the same effort that brings good to the society. So for us, it's something that every day makes us happy. Going back to what I wanted to say from the beginning, and I'm going back to what you have asked actually, is how much. And I will come back to say exactly how much for a proof of concept. When I tried to do for Tiganoginisi the proof of concept, I went to the government and I said, to any government, actually even to the British government, and said, well, I have the idea. I want you to give me 5 schools around Cyprus to make the effort, to make my proof of concept. And then they told me, okay, I will give you the floor, go. The minister said, okay, go, I give you okay, find five of them, of the schools that they are ready to participate. I found them, and then go inside and make it happen. Because then they were saying this Tiganoginisi, as I'm calling it, it's just bringing the kids, bringing the oil. The buses that were bringing, the bus owners that were bringing the kids from the villages, they said, I don't accept used oil in my car, my vehicle. Then when I came to the cleaners, to the cleaning ladies of the schools, they said, well, we will not accept you to bring oil, and then if it's spoiled around, who will clean it? And then we find the teachers that they said, well, they bring it in the school, in the classroom, and we cannot use it, we cannot have it there because it smells all the time in the class. So who will take it there, who will bring it back? And then they told me, okay, who is going to collect it, to take it to the industry? And so I have to find my uncle that he had a second-hand double cabin, and I went to buy 5 tanks, and it was approximately 300 each. So I found somebody who was bringing chemicals, and then he had these IBCs that he was throwing, and I went during the night and I asked him to give me 1 or 2, and I took them and I used them. So you're being creative because you have a target to find money, to give it back to schools, and to bring new ideas for sustainability in the school. So I managed through several ways to spend no more than 1,000 euros for the first year, and my time, of course, that I spent to prove the concept. The moment that I proved the concept, then the school said, okay, we want more. Then the scale was big, and then I could buy a car with money that were pouring in from the project, from this social enterprise, and I could employ 2 collectors and 1 marketeer, and then we went on and on. So with no money at the first 1 year and only my time, we managed to get it off the ground, get Tiganogenesis off the ground. Nobody believes it, but this was the truth. So this is how I know that many others that I will show you started, and with minimum money but huge effort, you can do miracles. Simple step to set up a social enterprise. Define your social or environmental mission and stick to it. What you want to do and why. Define it clearly. Transport kids. They say, I want to support the kids in Makarios Hospital when there are no procedures to be used. Then I come in, and for any illnesses that are not covered by the central Makarios Hospital, I will give the money. And that is what they are doing. Everybody knows exactly where the money goes. Find startup resources, personal, family. You will not believe that most of the people that I know that they have started their social enterprise, they started from money family business. Mother, father, friends. Rarely you will see starting from grants, because if you get a grant, it reminds me of insulinic, using insulin. So you will have to, if you start with grant, then you always need grant to keep up the momentum. On the contrary, if you manage to start cleverly through your personal resources, you are so careful with those resources that you don't spoil anything. And so a business without spoiling even 1 cent, that means that it will go on working, operating. Research and analysis of the area of work, be familiar with the problem, the solution, the partners, the competitors. Somebody said, if I go out big, no, don't go big. Be very careful. The moment that the sharks will see that there are high profits in what you are doing, they will attack. The shark will never come if the idea has relatively marginal profit and low profit. So be very careful of what I'm saying, because nobody touched me when I tried this, those 2 or 3 with Yannis and other friends, because there was no profit in this car. At the end, there is profit, marginal, but real profit, and made more than 20 people work with 2,000 euros a month salaries, with everything set perfectly like a business. So define your business model, 1-for-1 for every item you buy, the same one is donated per person. So if it is for Tiganogenesis, 70% goes to the schools, 30% stays in the for those people that I told you that we have employed. Percentage of profit goes to charity funds. So I'm just saying that it's not only the profit, it's actually for Tiganogenesis 70% of whatever comes in. So it's not the net profit. But still, it's a very viable business, social enterprise. Simple steps: set up your team. Never go alone. Yannis said something that usually for companies, for businesses, your company, you start alone. For social enterprises, it's very nice if you have company, 5 or 10 friends around you. So when we have to find money, we all put from 3,000. It was 10,000 at the end, not for Tiganogenesis, for another social business that at the end we needed starting fund, and we put from 3,000 each. We were 10, 30,000. It was perfect. We could do everything without banks And without the angels, I will show you the business angels that usually demand percentage of whatever you do. And they are really oriented, business oriented, and you struggle to find a way out of all those obstacles they put. Figure out the income stream, product or service, donation, grants, public funds. You have to have a clear idea of from where are things coming, because maybe public can donate you something and you think that you are very well, and at the end, when the moment that the fund is gone, you just collapse. Build a network, go to environmental, social events, do speeches, become member, bring members or other associations in. I mean, if you now ask for Tiganogenesis, all the environmental NGOs, they know it and they support it. So can you imagine when somebody wants to harm your social business, that they have to deal with all those societal organizations? They wouldn't dream of coming against us, and they want it badly at this moment. Okay, so those are the way that you keep you alive, because they all know that if they touch you, then they touch 50 other entities that will go for your rescue. And let's proceed. Define the social problem you want to address. We said before, what is your competitive advantage? What is your competitive advantage? This is something that you always have to keep in mind. And sometimes if you lose this competitive advantage, so maybe the social impact is your competitive advantage. And by 90% of the ideas and and social enterprises I know, the only competitive advantage they have is that the people love them, really love them. And it's something that if somebody touch them, again, they will go outside and shout against anybody who is against the effort. What is your social enterprise area of work? I will show now, give me 1 minute. So we already said about this. Be very careful. I will just give you the example. If you work in integration, then you have to have, usually you have to know that you will have to employ 40% of your employees have to be from disadvantaged groups. So keep this in mind. If you decide that you are going for others, let's say, or for local development, then keep in mind that 70% of your profit will have to go back to social input. So those percentages that come from European Union is good if you go back and you read a bit. We have our leaflet here. It has everything on this leaflet. So please have a good study of this leaflet and also the European Union central website. Who is your team? Who is your target audience? Who are your competitors? This is something we said before that is very important. And I will go back to what Yannis said, where and how to look. All the ideas were actually taken from friends that were gathered and they said, oh, the government is doing nothing on this. The community, the mayor does not understand the necessity of this. Oops, necessity of this. That's an idea. Who will do this necessity reality? Who will cover this gap? I will cover this gap. The moment you say I will cover and you will share this with your friend and you start thinking, how can you do that actually? Let's try this. I remember a few years ago, I had this friend that he's poor actually, and he didn't know what to do with his life. And I went to the mayor and asked him, how much do you pay for your employees and outsourcing for cleaning this park, those 3 parks, small parks in the middle of Aglanjan? And they tell me, well, approximately 200 per park. So if I manage to do it in 150 or in 100 euros per park, is it okay? Yes. So we have tried with that friend of mine with goats. We just went to the uncle of Kiriaki that has goats and we said, okay, Why don't we take 10 of them, put them on a car, go there, and try to see if they can eat and clean? And we were clean. The unemployed friend of mine, he would clean the place from other things, and the goats will be left to eat grass in the park. We found so many problems. So at the end, we understood that we had to have other things, something to, because a few of the goats attacked a few kids. There were many problems, but at least we solved it. So search within your community's everyday life. Observe and identify gaps or problems that at the end, the society needs you to find ways out. And how can I do things better? This is a question that you raise. It's not the opposite way. It's not, is my product going to work? It's not a product. Can I solve the problem? This is the difference between what Yannis said about conventional business and the difference between the social enterprise. So here you can see the Cars for Kids. You already experienced this in the north. The Cars for Kids is an amazing effort. I'm taking my kids not every Saturday, but I'm going there and are separating, and we have so much fun. And all the money are going back to what I told you, to people that they don't have the money, and the central procedure of the government does not cover the money for such rare diseases. So it's Anagiklos. Anagiklos is the one for the clothes. Agia Skebi is amazing, does an amazing work. Actually, I was eating this noon, the bread that is being made traditionally by people that are actually, they have problem with drugs, they are drug addicts. And Agia Skebi is a place where they have all the support they need. And one of the things that they found out that is all those drug addicts, if they come back to the market and they are given a job that is so boring, they go back to the drugs. And now they found a way for them to cultivate fields, to take back the seeds, then turn them into flour, and then make breads and be so creative. And you see that 90% of those people that they were actually engaged in this new effort of producing from breads to whatever you want, traditional products, they have amazing, amazing success, both in the products and in keeping those young people away from drugs. Tigano Kinisi, which is our baby here in Acti, and we are ever so proud that at this moment we have more than 10 people working and being employed by Tigano Kinisi, going to 450 almost at this moment schools in south of Cyprus, collecting oil and bringing back new technology that helps in the formal, non-formal and informal education. Instead of just saying that we are recycling, no, we take the technology, they recycle. Even if I could show you here, we have more than 10 new technologies that can transform garbages into new products. So we are ever so happy, and also I must show and I must really give the congratulations to the effort of Magusa in Makamer. You can go into the site and they can give you more on this effort that has been made. So if I can continue, one of the things that I must tell you, and this is a key element, a SOS, SOS. Please hear me out on this. We all believe that we will lose money out of social enterprise at the beginning. What if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't work? And we always say, I should take care more closely, I should go more scientifically perfect, and I should go to the perfect. So have a look at this, and this S-curve, as we call it. You start down here. Should I succeed? Let's bring more ideas. Let's be more sure. Again, you go And at the end, if you don't try it somewhere here, and you just wait to be absolutely certain for this, you will put so much time and resources trying to understand if you could do this, that at the end, you will be disappointed and go and abandon your idea. You have to test it. As I told you, it was the idea with the goats. I found a friend that had double cabin, take the goats from the uncle of Kyriaki, ask the mayor to give me 1 day to check it out, took the unemployed person to go there and check, what do I have to do? What happened? One of the goats left. What am I doing with this? So you understand that if you don't try it, if you don't test it, so don't miss the chance to test. Test before you put a lot of money, before actually putting any money, just test it. Test it in a small scale just to see all the obstacles, and if this product that you are bringing in front will have such a problems, will bring problems, or will have such obstacles that at the end you will have to abandon it. And also, Yannis a few months ago was using this slide, and I wanted just to remind it that the initial excitement is amazing. I mean, at the beginning, when we said about Tiganogenesis and this oil, we are all so thrilled. So we started, not with the Tiganogenesis, we continued, but for others, we started 50, and at the end I was alone. This is not so, I was not so happy, because after the first initial excitement, then you have the fear and uncertainty. Oh my God, but when you say, when you do the tomorrow's matrix, the canvas, the tomorrow canvas, you will see how many issues are around to solve, and then some of the people start having fear and uncertainty. And at the moment that you have everything in front of you, you realize the effort and complexity that you have to take into consideration. And then, of course, if you manage to get the stamina and the courage to continue, then you put everything together and you say, it's not so bad. I could do that. And maybe one friend will help and the others. So during the integration phase, you feel quite comfortable. And when you bring everything together and you make your first effort, the first pilot, the first test, and you say, well, this is viable. What's safe? And then you say, Inshallah, I will proceed. And this time you are ready. You feel confident. You feel this continuous improvement, and you build. You start building, and then money are pouring in. You feel comfortable with all your economical issues that you have to cover, and you feel this comfortable. You feel comfortable. So let's proceed. Be aware that you have to divide in value-driven and cost-driven costs. Okay. Beware, you should never cut down the value costs. Sometimes you say, I remember in Tiganogenesis, they said, Michael, instead of going twice a year this year to the schools to present the new technologies, to work with the kids, why don't we go just one? I diminish, yes, I minimize the cost, of course, by 50%. However, I minimize the value. So I prefer to say, well, I will see if I can use a car that uses less gasoline, if I can lower other costs instead of the value-driven costs. Beware of that, because sometimes you get motivated, especially when you feel that you are running out of money, to say, okay, I will not go, I will reduce the value-driven costs. I'm almost there. Don't worry, Aijan. I should proceed. Define your revenue streams. It's very important. I'm telling you again that it's very important to understand from where the money are coming. If it's from funds, be aware that funds are going to finish at the moment. So also be very careful at the beginning when you get funds. You believe that you can give everything for free. You have to structure your social enterprise in a way it will not collapse, because then both the society and you you will fail, and you are closing a gap in the society. So at the end, although the people will believe that you are assisting them by giving free your services and your products, at the end, they will remain with the same gap and even bigger when you fail and you leave the market. I will not go all the way through, but have in mind some very important issues. Grants and subsidies are something that you want, but only to feed you in the beginning, just to get it started. Don't be very much dependent on grants and subsidies. Public contracting is something that you have to understand that it's going to happen and it's going to be legal from European Union. So every time there is a tender, public tender, then all the social enterprises will have bonus. Okay, this is a very important issue and it's coming from European Union. I'm not just promising, I'm not a politician. I'm telling you that at this moment, if you go in the European Union's intentions, they are now forming the legal framework for public contracting and boosting the social enterprises through this. So it's also the private funds that you can see here, trading, rental income fees, including membership fee, donation. Be very careful with the membership fee. Sometimes this creates a very peculiar, let's say, mentality and state of mind in your clients. We can discuss it tomorrow maybe. So I'm coming back to where your resources are coming from. Be very careful from angel investors. Many people say, I will give money because I believe in it. But at the end, when you go to sign for the money to come, they tell you that they are going to control this social enterprise that you are trying to do, or they should put their own terms. Very careful. Be very careful with the competition. I can see that now Tiganogenes is 10% of the whole package of the market. The moment that we tried to go to 15 to 20, the market came to me, so the competitors, and they said, the moment that you go over 10%, we will attack you. Because we love you, because we like you, because we want you. We're just telling you at the moment that you interfere in our business, more than 10%, we have a very solid decision that we will all attack you instantly and we will eliminate you like that. Huh? They don't hide behind their words. So be very careful, and it's a very good idea to have your social enterprise up to the level and the scale that the market allows you to, and actually you will find your competitors assisting you if you remain under a certain scale. This is something that you have to take into consideration. And crowdfunding, unfortunately in Cyprus, is not working so much. We tried it. CSR, corporate social responsibility, to find a big business and tell them that, yes, we're going to do that. Can you assist us? Yes, we will find many of them, and they are really helpful. Be very careful that every time that you want to make a social enterprise, you have to go and find the authorities. And especially, I'm telling you this, the mayors and the council, the municipal council, they are very helpful and they will really support you. I found such support in all the social enterprises that I was assisting to be built and launched that you wouldn't believe it. And volunteers. There are many volunteers. It's not so frequent in Cyprus to find volunteers, but at the end, when the society understands that you are really assisting, then you will see that you will find many volunteers, especially during the summer. Okay, marketing, Yannis said many things about this issue. That is something that usually we don't know, and many big companies actually assist us in marketing. just pro bono, out of their usual business. They're giving us assistance, and or mass media very often. And be very careful that if you want to make a social enterprise and you want to be in front, you have to be very outgoing person. And you have to find all the possible opportunities to go out and pitch your idea, investor, customers, all the time. I mean, even during Easter or wherever I'm outside with somebody, yes, how are you? Very well. And now that you are telling me this, if we could speak one day before this and this, I mean, sometimes you become very bored to the others, but this is something that you have to understand, that you promote this social effort, because it's a social effort, and you are really enthusiastic about it all the time of the day, okay, and night. Thank you very much. After this, I just wanted to how to pitch. I had this, sorry, I forgot this, very important. So it's very interesting that European Union is promoting pitching so much. Pitching shouldn't be more than three minutes. I'm talking about this issue and of pitching, and it should be passionate, enthusiastic, with high clarity, and be real. Usually, when you are talking about business as usual, the conventional, they always know that you hide something behind. It's the ace that they usually say that you have to keep it. With social enterprises, you are so real, and you just take out whatever you have to say. Be as passionate, enthusiastic you can become, and because you don't hide anything, the others can understand that you are just saying what you feel, what you want to say, and then it's much, much more easy for you to do this pitching without any restriction and without any hesitation. Thank you very much, and I hope that I will have the opportunity in the next day to show exactly how we did the 3 or 4 social enterprises we launched in the south side, in South Cyprus, and how we did it, what were the obstacles, exactly what were the obstacles, what were the challenges and the outcomes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Michalis. So you've heard a whole bunch of ways, stages, in fact, in getting things started for a social enterprise. So we're going to have another one of our quick polls. So if anyone has sort of drifted off, or you just left because it's the end of a presentation, please do come back. You're going to see the poll appearing quite shortly, and I will be speaking over it in the meantime. So the idea is that which one of the steps of setting up a social enterprise have you found the hardest, or which one sounds like it is the hardest? And again, we're not asking that you spend a lot of time thinking about this. You know, it's not, there's no right answer. It's all depending on your interpretation or on your experience of what you think, what might be the hardest. So just go ahead and click one, and we'll see how our participants are feeling about this. And maybe later on in the question and Q&A session, we might be able to address some of those concerns. So how are we doing, Dimitra, with answers? I see that I think we've lost a few people along the way.
Answers are coming.
Answers are coming in. I'm just trying to think for myself. Generally, I think it's finding the startup resources. I mean, when I think about some of the ideas that I've come up with over time, I think defining things and you know, having clarity on that is generally okay. But yes, Yannis is pointing out that it says figuring the income streams, but it should be figuring out. But I'm sure our participants have already figured that out as well. That's a bad joke. Is that the first bad joke that I've made in the workshop? Anyway, so if you're still thinking about it, or if you've left and you're just coming back to your headsets, as quickly as you can, just give it a click before we move on to actually discussing the business model. And this may actually help Dimitra in presenting the business model as well. So if there's any area that you find difficult, we'd be able to focus on that more. So, there we go. Okay, so a lot of you think that defining the mission is pretty straightforward and you have a good grasp of that, but everything else that comes afterwards, and it seems to, yeah, finding the startup resources, I guess that's the biggest obstacle. So we'll see if we can address that in the next section. Dimitra, I'm not going to take up much of your time, and I leave the screen to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayjan. So can you see my screen?
We can see your screen, and we can see you as well. And we can hear you loud and clear as well.
Great, thank you. So I know we've mentioned this a lot, but we could not stress how important it is to address the social impact. So enterprises with a strong social impact are really important, not because only it can be one of the social enterprises' competitive advantage, but because it's something you use as a tool to persuade either public authorities, social investors, or even your family or friends that this idea that you have in mind can be in fact implemented, and people should invest in you. So one of the questions is, what is social impact? And it usually can be defined in reference to 4 key elements, which is the value that is created as a consequence of someone's activity, how others are affected by it, and it can be positive and negative. And also it can be judged in reference to a benchmark, or what a situation would have been without the proposed activity. However, in the definition of social impact, stakeholders found it difficult to find a uniform, let's say, definition that would reflect its broad meaning. But there was recently a report that stated that the social impact is the reflection of a social outcome as a measurement, both long-term and short-term, adjusted for the effects achieved by others, for the effects that would have happened anyway, for negative consequences, and the effects for declining over time. But for me, just this definition is just very difficult to comprehend. And what we need is people actually into the social business sector, what they need is measurable solutions on how to measure social impact. And that's why it's become very clear that it's very important to have a methodology, let's say, or a way to measure social impact. And why is that important? This is important because public authorities, who are major funders of social enterprise, need to carefully allocate resources for investing in social enterprises. And this is the way they do that is that they can address the issue of social impact. I mean, if a social enterprise is more impactful than another, then they would know where to allocate the resources. This is the same for investors and financial institutions. These institutions talk in monetary terms. So when we are in the process of having to apply for investment, we need to persuade these people that our business, our social business, has such an impact that is worth of their investment. And not only it's worth, it has financial returns. And another point is that social enterprises themselves need to set realistic objectives And once the objectives are set, they need to monitor and evaluate their performance. They need to know where their actions are actually impacting the target audience or the beneficiaries or the users. And they have to prioritize their decisions in order where to invest their money and how competitive they should be, or even how to advertise their company in order to have more impact. Well, I know I mentioned that measuring social impact is very important, but at the moment there is not a uniform and universal definition of social impact measurement because it has been proven very difficult. In fact, the European Union stressed out that there's this approach which is called one size fits all. It's, for example, applying a defined set of indicators to all social enterprises, regardless of their size, their sectors, where they work, what are the governance mechanisms in their countries. So it's something that the European Union does not want to be implemented. So what their approach is, they want to set, instead of having this universal definition or universal methodology of measuring social impact, they propose to give social enterprises a guideline to measure their own social impact through their own resources, through their own methodologies. Well, and to point out that there are only few countries that have common system and methodologies in measuring social impact around Europe. And in some countries, in most of the countries, this step is voluntary, and only few countries have a mandatory step in measuring social impact for social enterprises. So what is the proposed measuring process? This process is revolved around 4 steps. You plan your enterprise, you do what it is that you have envisioned to do, you assess your process, you assess your impact, and then you review. So if we want to break it down further, there are 7 steps to measure your social impact. You set your goals, you develop the framework and the metrics, the parameters that you want to measure, you collect your data, you store it, you validate your data through a process that your own company has developed, or you use methodology that already exists, you analyze your data, you report, and then the last step is you take informed decisions on how to move forward with your company based on the data that you have collected. So this is called data-driven investment management. So what it is that you do is you have assessed the situation, and then you review it, and then you take informed decision based on that revision. There's also the stakeholder-based approach. This approach puts the stakeholder at the center of measuring social impact. You select a metric that satisfies the information needs of the main stakeholder. Let's talk, for example, for Tigano Kynisi. One of the metrics should be how much investments have been returned to schools. So we measure the money coming from going to schools for investment. And what it is that we do is that we have an ongoing dialogue with the stakeholders, which are the schools. And we have this open communication in finding more, in trying to find what their needs are, and trying to figure out how they'd be happier and how we would satisfy their needs at a further level. So this is in the sense that we take stakeholder in the center, and we try to identify their objectives, to identify, of course, the stakeholders, and we measure the impact based on them. And of course, we try to improve the process, report, and learn from it. So there are some measuring methods available in online, and of course in all these books related to social impact measuring. So it's the social cost benefit analysis, which seeks to explain the full social cost and benefits of a project in monetary terms. There is the return of investment. I won't go through the details, but I just want to make sure that you have all the information in front of you. And if you decide that to follow a certain methodology, you can go and find out more information, because there are a lot of information available. And there's also the cost-effective analysis, which provides non-monetary valuation and compare costs to outcomes as a ratio. And this is most useful when benefits cannot be monetized. So there are a lot of challenges in measuring social impact that stems from the lack of a definition, the complexity of measuring methodologies, and the lack of the know-how of the social enterprises themselves to actually measure social impact. But what it is that you have to take with you is that you have to identify what it is that you want to measure, and then try to build around it and make that message strong, but in a way that it will be not overly burdensome for the social enterprise itself, and that you don't focus on only measuring the social impact and then forgetting the rest of the business, and you need to find a balance between. And that's all for the social impact, and I would like to move forward with the business model canvas. I think that's the part we've all most anticipated too. So we've chosen this business model. We've chosen the business model canvas because, as Mr. Giannis said earlier, it makes sense to write things down, and it's nice to create a picture that you can imagine. You can actually see what you have imagined and what you want to develop, what it is that you want to develop. And with this business model canvas, is like being a creator or a painter, that you want to paint a picture for your own social enterprise, and you want to have it in front of you so you can move around things, and you can adjust and be flexible and create something that you're proud of and something that actually works. So this tool is nothing new. It is a recent tool, but it's widely available. It's something that the European Union might ask you to do while submitting a proposal for funding. So it's just actually something that will help you visualize your own business. So I will try to explain how things work. So I'm sorry about that. It's just that, okay. Being the control of the panel and also the presenter is a challenge. So this is what the social business model canvas looks like. There are 10 building blocks that will assist you in developing your social enterprise, and how it's usually be done is that you have a big piece of paper in front of you and on your desk, and you gather all your team around, and you use Post-its to put information in all your blocks. So this is what it would look like if we had a Post-it in. So in the type of intervention, in this block, this is where you put the product and service, what it is that you have in mind in developing. It might go along with your social vision or the exactly what it is that you want to do as a social enterprise. And then to deliver this intervention, you need to identify what are your key activities, what it is that you actually do, and how are you going to do it. These are your key resources. And then you need to identify, this is actually a process that can be done at the same time, but you need to identify what are your beneficiaries, who are the people that benefit from your intervention. And of course, in an enterprise, this segment, you can see that there are beneficiaries and customers in a social enterprise. In the business model canvas, there are only customers. So there is a differentiation between the social enterprise that can have beneficiaries, people who don't actually buy your product, but there are people, the people who benefit from your intervention. And you have, of course, your customers. And you need to identify what it is that you're offering to them. How are they using your product? What it is that, how are they impacted, let's say? And the next step is that you need to identify what are your key partners, what are the stakeholders you are addressing. You need those key partners to deliver your product or service, to reach out to your beneficiaries and to reach out to your customers. And of course, it is very important to know how you are going to reach those customers and those beneficiaries. Is it by having a website? Is it by having a strong social media campaign? Is it by having a partner who has a strong social media campaign or has the same network with you and wants to share that burden of reaching out to customers and beneficiaries? The next step, of course, is not the last step. It's in the process, but I'm presenting it as the next step. So it's the cost structure. What are your costs? What will it cost you to deliver your value proposition to your customers? What will it cost you to run your resources? I mean, do you need infrastructure? Do you need equipment? Do you need human resources? Do you need online platforms? Do you need educational material? It depends on what kind of business you are building. And as said before, many times you need to understand what your revenue sources are. You have to identify where you get the money. You get the money from sales of product. You get the money for providing services. You have revenues by collaborating with other key partners that have the same mindset with you. It depends on the business model you want to establish for your own business. And of course, let's not forget what we've already mentioned, that it's very important to have measures, metrics for measuring social impact, because it can be your competitive advantage and it can be the way that will get you resources for finance. And once you figure out all of these things and once you figure out your revenue streams and you've made profit, and you've paid, of course, yourself, and you've paid your staff, then you need to find out where are you going to reinvest this money. Because the social enterprise, as mentioned earlier and yesterday, needs to reinvest money for its own purpose. It could be either for human resource development, it could be either for purchasing equipment, or whatever is relevant to the activity that the social enterprise is doing. And of course, this can not only be done for one activity. Your social enterprise might have several products or several activities or several beneficiaries and customers. So you need to do that for everything that you have in mind in doing in a social enterprise. But of course, as said by our experts, it is nice at the beginning to focus on one activity, to focus on simple things and not overwhelm yourself with a lot of information. And I don't know if this picture is we painted a really hard picture in creating a social business canvas, but don't worry, because we have a real example, the real example of the Ganogenesis coming up, and we will explain in detail how we have created our social business model canvas for this project. So, of course, you will have the chance to ask any questions related to the completion of the canvas, and you have the chance to work with your mentors, for those who will be joining us tomorrow, to put the steps one by one in developing the idea into and creating your own social business model canvas. So I'm very proud to present now the business model canvas of the Ganogenesis. I know Michalis Loizidis has told a lot about his challenges and his experiences from being the mindset behind all this and the social innovator behind the program of the Ganogenesis, the social initiative. And I would just like to express my joy and how proud I am for being part of this program. And of course, he's very modest to mention that the Ganogenesis has been nationally and internationally acknowledged. It has been recognized from the European Commission as one of the EU's best good practices in social innovation, representing Cyprus in 2020. The program has earned an SME Instrument Phase 1 grant in 2018 for the investigation of its internalization, going to different countries. I'm sorry, the right word does not come out to me right now. It has been recognized as a best practice of social entrepreneurship in the Women's Economic Forum in New Delhi in India. And we're very proud that it was shortlisted in Elsevier's 2015 Green and Sustainable Chemistry Contest and received the Cyprus Green Party Environmental Award. And we should also mention that it's the only project that is included in the official analytical program of the Pedagogical Institute of Cyprus of the Ministry of Education. So it is a social initiative that is actually running, and it has an impact, and we will of course discuss how impactful it is and how we measure this impact in a few seconds. So you probably know the process, but let me just explain in a few words how the Ganogenesis works. We collect used cooking oil from schools. Used cooking oil is a harmful waste that is being mismanaged in Cyprus. And we ask students to bring their used cooking oil to their school. We have personnel who is trained to collect the used cooking oil, and we sell the oil to conversion companies, and the return of funds go to schools. And the money are invested in green infrastructure. And the innovation of the program is that we combine the management of a harmful waste with the educational presentations at schools. We provide educational experiential education to schools, in addition to collecting the used cooking oil. And we, of course, employ unemployed youth to be our young scientists, educators. They're called argonautas. And of course, we have incorporated green infrastructure and technology into the curriculum. And all of this together combines, develops the social initiative that it is the Ganogenesis. And this is a visual of what we have gained from the Ganogenesis since its implementation starting in 2011. This is data from the year 2018, so we have more data available. So we have at least 200,000 euros returned back to schools, and it has been invested in 780 green infrastructures and actions to make schools more sustainable. We have the majority of the Cypriot schools into the program, and we have 200 businesses already donating their used cooking oil to schools. There are a lot of stakeholders involved. It is a complex but very, very wide initiative that is inclusive and it's proven to be very impactful in society. So without further ado, I would like to present to you the business model canvas of Tiganoginisi. This is something we have developed over the years. It wasn't that complex at the beginning because there were simple processes into the picture, but now we have the whole picture and the whole stakeholders, and this is why what you will see it's a bit crowded, but it depicts the wide range of the activities by the program. So what it is that Tiganoginisi does, it provides resources and funds to schools to become more sustainable. And at the same time, it is useful for the management of a harmful waste, which is the used cooking oil. And what are the key activities of Tiganoginisi? Of course, it's the used cooking oil collection, and we provide funds to schools for sustainable investments. We provide environmental education, and on the top of that, we provide employment for unemployed youth and scientists. So what it is that we need to do, our key activities and provide our intervention. We need to have a dream team, which we have. We need to have seed funding. We need collection equipment. We need educational materials to provide the education to schools, and we need a website, a platform that has all the infrastructures, ideas for schools to use for implementation with the money in return, with the money provided by the Tiganoginisi. And which are our beneficiaries? It's the schools, the students, the local community, the wastewater boards, and I will explain why, the local businesses, the local authorities, and unemployed youth. And for each one of our beneficiaries, we've used a different color, and you see why. And of course, our customers, the oil collection companies where we sell the oil, and the Pedagogical Institute. I will tell you why in a bit. I think now it's very obvious. For each color used for the schools and for the beneficiaries, we have the same color for the value proposition. So you can understand that for schools, what the value proposition is the funds for green technology and sustainability. So for resource efficiency as well, that reflects in saving, in cost saving. And what about the students? How do the students benefit from our value proposition? They receive experiential education, and in fact, the local community also earns value from our program because it has access to used cooking oil disposal services, and the same for water and wastewater boards. They are saving money due to the reduced clogs because very big amount of used cooking oil is collected and not ending up in drains. And how the local businesses have an impact from our value proposition is that they increase their customer base and they can use it as a marketing tool. And local authorities, they have the opportunity to meet their environmental obligations and provisions to provision of services. And what unemployed youth gain from Tiganoginisi is that they gain employment and financial stability. And this was done also for our customers, for the oil collection companies in red. You can see their value proposition is that they have used cooking oil to export. And in green, the Pedagogical Institute has now with Tigano Guinnessy available infrastructures for the creation of sustainable schools. So it's a lot of things, but it has been many years of implementation, and the stakeholders have been carefully selected. And for each one of them, we have carefully planned a value proposition. And we, of course, had to identify our key stakeholders, which one of our key stakeholders is the Pedagogical Institute of Cyprus, which also implements the program with us. The schools, the business that donate their used cooking oil, the oil collection companies, these are partners, our supporters that provide funds for, let's say, our website development, or for providing funds to employ the unemployed youth of the scientists that provide experiential education to schools. So all of these are our key stakeholders and partners. And of course, we needed to identify how are we going to reach our customers and our beneficiaries. And what it is that we do is that we have a website that people can log in, and students and schools and the wider public, of course, and can see what the program is about, and can see what actions for sustainable actions they can implement in the school environment, and best practices they can learn from each other and communicate with each other, and also we can communicate with them and provide more information. And another way to reach our beneficiaries, which are the schools, are the educational presentations we provide. And of course, there is a more official way to reach out to them, which are the Pedagogical Institute circulars. And of course, let's not forget that we have costs, and we need to figure out how we're going to minimize these costs. But we have to identify every single thing that it's in the cost structure, so as to be prepared. And that is the oil collection staff, the scientific staff, and the collection equipment that we use to go around schools and collect used cooking oil, and the educational equipment, which is some experimental settings that we use to reach out to our students. And after we figure out our costs, we need to, of course, understand the revenue streams of Tigano Guinnessy, which is the sales of used cooking oil, and the funds from sponsors such as the CETA and Eurolife, or one main point that we take into account in Tigano Guinnessy is the voluntary participation in man-hours. So volunteering is very important in social initiatives. And of course, let's not forget how we measure impact. Here in Tigano Guinnessy, how we do this is we measure the money returned to schools. We use the number of participating schools and companies, the number of sustainable investments, the amount of used cooking oil collected, and the number of participating volunteers, as well as funds provided by sponsors. And once we figure out everything and we've made profit, how we reinvest this profit is to invest in infrastructure and human resources, and of course to develop more educational material that would be using to our education activities in schools. So I hope you found this explanatory enough, and we will have the chance to talk more about it tomorrow for those of you who will be joining. But of course, I can answer any questions you may have regarding the business model and regarding Tigano Guinnessy, Michalis Loizidis, which is the social innovator behind this. He can also tell us his experience while developing this initiative. Back to you, Ayjan. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dimitra, so much. So we're hoping that after Dimitra's presentation, I'm surprised that some of the things were a lot more clearer to me as well. As you were talking, I was like, oh, that's why they're lined up like that. So I'm sure it is about 10 times more clearer to our participants. I mean, we've been looking at this thing for a very long time now, since the training of trainers, in fact, I think, or even during for the our preparatory workshop. So as you can see, the Tigano Kunisi example was something that came, you know, over years of developing an idea, trial and error, and then revisiting the original model, and then developing new strategies and adding onto it as the years went by. So it's not meant to be, this is what it might look like after years of working on the project and actually implementing it. So the whole idea behind tomorrow's exercise is to give you just a glimpse into, you know, to put you in those shoes of a social entrepreneur and get you to start thinking like one. It's meant to be fun. I mean, above and beyond anything else, you know, you need to have fun with it, because if your heart's not in it and your passion isn't in it, then it's gonna feel like a chore. And if that's gonna happen, then you might as well not be doing social entrepreneurship. But let's see if people have changed their minds about tomorrow, if maybe you feel a bit more inspired to go ahead and either try out one of your ideas. It doesn't have to be a social enterprise from the get-go. Maybe you just have an idea, and if working with a group is what you want, then maybe people can throw about some suggestions, give you some critique and feedback, and then you may end up with a social enterprise idea that you can then develop into your business model. So write it down into the questions chat box if you are interested in participating, and I will get back to how that's going to work towards the end of our session, but I believe we have some questions. Am I correct, Dimitra?
Yes, we do. Let me put Mr. Mihalis, Loizidis, and Yanis Fesas in the conversation. I will open their cameras and microphones if they let me.
And if in the meantime you still have questions, please feel free to ask them again in the questions section, and we will try and get through as many as we can in the time that we have. So we'll probably go for 20 minutes for answers, questions and answers. So let's start with number one.
Okay. So a person wants to ask, how about setting up a business in a society such as Cyprus as a foreigner, where it's a bit difficult to a foreigner from Africa to get a chance of setting up one?
Who would like to begin to answer that?
Can you tell us what kind of difficulties he has? It shouldn't be difficult. Why?
I think maybe the issue has to do with residency, or perhaps the immigration status or visa issues. I'm not very familiar with it, but this has been coming up at times. Perhaps the person asking the question, if they would like to elaborate a bit more, have they attempted to start a business, or have they seen previous examples? I mean, can we get a concrete example of the problem experienced, perhaps, if they would like to write that in? But it does seem to be, I'm not necessarily sure if it's an issue of people actually going and attempting to set it up, or maybe it's there's false information out there saying that they're unable to do so.
If you can make something like that, it's most probably he's talking about racism. You will see that at the end this will come. Okay, and this is something that, yes, sometimes in Cyprus you can feel that the foreign people are not so welcome in the sense of being trusted so much from the community. However, I must confess that I have seen several efforts coming from foreign people who are really, who are staying in Cyprus, actually inhabitant Cyprus, and they are ever so much blend in the society. Great businesses, and especially concerning environment. That's why I'm saying, because I know and I'm following them, and we actually support them. Yes, there will always be issues of racism in any country, in any place. So the good thing is to find the right people to cooperate and stand by you. And this is what we do. Even if we are not foreigners, we still have to overcome obstacles of state of mind and of culture. Okay, so this is really there.
I do have an input from someone in the audience. I am in Cyprus and I have ideas which I would like to develop, but the North Cyprus society doesn't really encourage foreigners in participating in economic affairs.
That's exactly.
So the word encouragement isn't necessarily a legal obstacle. It's more along the lines of, does the person opposite to you want to help out, or do they not want to help out? It's a sad situation and reality, but I mean, even everyone out there who is not a resident or a citizen of the Turkish Cypriot community, Cypriots also face the same problems. There's a lot of nepotism that goes around. So either you need to know someone in between, or you need to drop names of people that you know to get something done. Unfortunately, because we're such a small place and a small island, this sort of seems to be the norm for getting things done if you want to get them done. However, we go back to what Yannis said. If you have a strong business plan, if you have a good idea and you have all the risks, or as many of the risks, taken care of, perhaps it's a matter of forming collaborations. So getting the support of perhaps the mayor or other people. Most of the time, it's also a language barrier issue. So some people aren't confident enough, perhaps in their language skills, to communicate in the right way. And they just say, oh, no, like you just can't do that, thank you. That's not something we do. So it might be a situation of getting people to, as your support team, you know, the dream team situation that Dimitra was talking about. Get the support of others. If it's a good idea, it will speak for itself anyway. And you can hopefully eradicate some issues like that. I believe the person asking this question, I'm guessing they are probably joining in on the business plan thing tomorrow. Yes. So one of the things that might be good to focus on, if the idea is there, is the dream team section. Maybe the mentors can help out in identifying people within the local community who can maybe support such an idea and back up the idea in that sense.
So we're going back basically to building a network, going out and talking to people, share your ideas, go to seminars, be a volunteer in activities, join an NGO who is doing something similar to your interest. All these things are important in convincing people for your idea and actually get the support you need.
Exactly. If there's anyone else who would like to add to that, if not, we can maybe move on to the next question, Dimitra.
Yes, of course. So there's a question about how to get volunteering jobs in the northern part of Cyprus, and there is a comment regarding again foreign students that there is a restriction of I would say obstacles in getting volunteering jobs, and Aycan, maybe you can elaborate on that further because you might know the situation.
Here's the experience that I've come across with, not from the people seeking the volunteer work, but from the people who receive the emails and the let's say the offers to accept volunteers. Some NGOs, honestly, have no experience in working with volunteers. It's not something that they come across. So generally what happens with NGOs is that it's their immediate network of people. So it's their family, their friends. It's generally these people who will come and volunteer. If someone happens to be a teacher or know a teacher or have a teacher in their family, at times it will then extend over to the schools. But people aren't necessarily used to, in NGOs, to receiving emails saying, I would like to volunteer, what can you do? Generally, the answer is they don't really know because they're very unfamiliar with volunteers and working with volunteers. One thing that I would suggest is instead of saying, I would like to volunteer, what have you got for me? Maybe it's a matter of saying, I'm a student in this department. You know, I've been following your NGO and it sounds very interesting and inspiring what you're doing. Here's what I could do as a volunteer if you would let me. And then rather than expecting them to say something, maybe you could go with an offer and a clear set of skills of what you can bring for that NGO. And that might sort of eliminate certain questions that they have. Same for companies. My dad told me this example of my grandfather when he first had to move to England, and he was a car mechanic, so all he knew was cars. And he was looking for a job, and he was Cypriot. His English was so and so, so no one would hire him. So basically, what he did was he walked into Ford, you know, the car company Ford, and he said, I will work for you for a week for free. I'm going to show you what I can do, and then we can discuss my salary. And the people were like, who is this crazy foreigner? Like, what do you mean you're going to work here for free? So he worked for a week. He fixed every problem that came his way. And then at the end of the first week, he packed his bags and he walked into the director's office and he said, let's discuss my salary. And they were like, how much? We will give you whatever you want. Like, you've fixed so many of the problems, and like just right off the bat, we don't even know who you are. This is someone who came from Cyprus at a time where, you know, cars and everything was a luxury at the time. So I'm sure there's a set of skills that you have that you are able to offer, but perhaps the people that you're offering these skills to don't know that they need them. So it's a matter of creating that demand and making that clear to them when you approach them. That's something that I could, I guess.
Can I also add?
Absolutely, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe it's time we can announce that we have activities will follow these workshops within the framework of our Goals Social project. We will invite people to participate in study visits in social initiatives that are already established and running for many years in Cyprus. So people that would like to continue and learn more and come in touch with people that actually implement social initiatives, it's a great opportunity to join us and meet let's say the initiators, the team of actual social initiatives in the island, and volunteer to work for the purpose of their social enterprise. I mean, social enterprises are open for volunteers. And also, we can also announce that very soon we'll have an internship program for graduates and unemployed that would like to get involved in, again, existing initiatives in North and South, and actually get an insight and see how these these initiatives operate, what are the challenges, and get a better idea of if this is what they want to do, and maybe continue supporting these organizations, or they want to create their own social initiative.
An excellent point, Kyriaki, and a good reminder on our upcoming project activities as well. So if you're not already following on social media, please go ahead and do that. We will be announcing things through there. We have your email addresses, we have your phone numbers, so we will make sure to let you know of these opportunities as they come. Next question, perhaps?
We don't have a question. We actually have a feedback regarding the previous subject of volunteerism.
Okay.
So there's a person saying that they worked in some NGOs and they're totally fine working with foreign students, but some of them need to have volunteers who can speak the local language, and because this is the nature of their work. I mean, of course, there are specific needs for every activity. So this, I guess, this is an explanation to the previous.
And it almost gets you thinking that perhaps a social enterprise that actually, let's say, eliminates or reduces the gap of this language barrier. Maybe someone could come up with a social enterprise focusing on teaching the local language, and perhaps vice versa as well. So a lot of NGOs may not be very comfortable with the English language, so it could, maybe there's like a language exchange opportunity here. So if anyone's running short of ideas for a social enterprise, there's one, and there's the problem, and I'm sure a lot of people will greatly appreciate such an initiative. So we don't have any more questions. Not yet. Before I go into explaining how, once again, the group work and tomorrow is going to proceed, perhaps there's any last words from our experts, or Kyriaki, Dimitra, as a presenter?
Sorry, I lost focus because I was looking at another question that came in the last moment.
In that case, let's do that. We're flexible here. We'll go with the flow. Let's get the question.
So a person says that, is there a special way my resume has to be structured to apply for jobs in Cyprus? This is a general question. Maybe we want to address it by the expert.
My resume?
This is not a social enterprise related question, I guess. It's just that how a CV should look like, should be structured for getting a job in Cyprus. Challenging.
Okay, usually there is, I mean, European Union is giving guidelines now about how to structure your CV, and people follow a particular format. I'm sure you can find it on internet, and it's.
Maybe Yannis he wanted to say something. Maybe Yannis, do you hear us? No.
I think we cannot hear Yannis.
His microphone is on.
Yannis, are you still with us?
We lost the connection. Okay. Maybe it's.
We can see you, but we cannot hear you.
Maybe a quick restarting issue can sort that out. Kyriaki, if you want to continue.
From our experience with young people, unemployed graduates, it helps a lot to have in your CV previous work as volunteers, generally active participation in civil society, in internships, helps enormously. And also, we had feedback from people that worked in our organization as volunteers or as interns that said it made a huge difference when they added the training, the in-service training they had in our organization. So by adding in our degrees and qualifications this particular activities that we volunteer, we even not only as volunteers but also as people that are active members of civil society. This helps a lot. What we can show about this in our CVs.
Okay, just double checking to see if Yannis's microphone is still not working. Okay. Well, if there's anything, it's good to know that he can let us know in chat. He's still here. Yannis, if there's anything you would like to add, maybe if you wrote it into the chat, one of us could be your voice. And this goes to show how flexible you need to be as a social entrepreneur. Sometimes things will go wrong and you just gotta go with the flow. Okay, he's gonna try signing in and out again, and we will be here when you get back, Yannis. Would anyone like to add anything to the CV question? I mean, generally, the most important things is to keep it short, clean, and to the point. You want to include as many things that are relative and leave out any fluff, as they call it. I once received a CV with 1 page of someone's biography of like the primary school they went to, where they were born, their childhood, and I thought it's wonderful writing skills, but you know, if you're applying to a big company and there's maybe 100 to 200 applications, it's not necessarily gonna show what it is that you can do within the job description that you're applying to. So
that's why I can, since we are interviewing more than 100 people per year in our company, one of the things is that, exactly as you said, you have to differentiate from the others. And usually what we see, apart from the educational skills, okay, because this is something that in order for them to apply, they sure have the degrees we are asking. However, it's what Kyriaki said, yes, the extra. So you want to show a broader sense, and also that you are willing to give, not only to take. So for people that are volunteering, you know that when you need them in your job, they will not say it's Sunday or Monday or Saturday. They know that you have the need, and they know that they will be very helpful, very happy to assist. So those are small tricks that you have to take into consideration when you say that, well, volunteering is something that is not for me or so. When you go to a job, the man who is responsible for the interview, he will prefer someone who has this ability to feel comfortable by giving, that's it, offering.
That's an excellent point. Yannis, would you like to add anything?
Is it working now?
Yes, it's working now, yay!
Okay, I'm sure I missed quite a bit from what you've been saying, but I would like to add say, a few experiences looking through hundreds of CVs sent to me over the last 40 years. Some of them are too long, and they do not encourage the reader to spend the time to read. Second, I find that when people claim initiative and they claim responsibility, a sense of responsibility, and I can see more than 2 spelling mistakes in them, I don't read any further. I don't read any further, because if they claim initiative and they don't have the initiative to show the CV they wrote to somebody else, a friend, to read it and tell them what's wrong with it, well, why should I be spending any more time? Of course, always I reply and thank them for their for contacting, but I try to read between the lines, because the CV is not the interview. The CV is to encourage somebody, to invite them for an interview, at which you will be able to, the employer will be able to see other things, like the soft skills, like the communication skills. Just by reading that they exist, it doesn't mean they're actually there. You have to experience them, that they're actually there. So this is what I wanted to add, really. But since you can hear me now, I'd like to go back and refer to the question posed by one of our listeners about racism, which it was a term I wanted to avoid. But when you look around us as individuals, each one of us, we have, I picture like peeling an onion. You know, we have the people who are very close to us and we trust them. Then there is an outer region, we trust them less and less and less until we come to our human capacity of trusting people. And then anybody which is beyond the outer cluster, we call them the others. People live in the same town, of the same nationality, the same religion. They talk about people of a different neighborhood as the others. So there is a limit in the capacity of trust that we can show to each other. And if somebody is coming from a different culture, different language, different religion, different color, okay? They are faced with this natural sort of grouping that we create around ourselves. And you don't have to go far. Look at your own self. How far can you trust people? How far out do you go? That's why one of my biggest criticisms for businessmen is that they trust their lawyer because he hides their wrongs. They trust their accountant for the same reason, and they trust their girlfriend, but not their wife. There is this close cluster, and then as we move out. Things become weaker and weaker until we reach a limit where, if it's outside, too far from us, we don't trust anyway. Anyway, I talk too much. Thank you. Silence.
Not at all, Yannis. Thank you so much for adding to that. And it's good to have you back as well for those final words before I wrap up day 2, but not before encouraging people once again. You've seen the business canvas model, a business model canvas. Gotta switch them around. We've given you some ideas. If not, you should have the stakeholders report from the preparatory workshop in your inboxes from some of the emails that I sent out earlier last week. If not, I can send it again today to the participants. But even if you remember in your, if you remember, there was a slide and I said take a screenshot if you needed to. But I mean, take some of the examples that we've been going over for the past 2 days. And even if not, even if you want to get together with a bunch of people from the workshop and just start discussing and coming up with problems and issues, and I'm sure at one point you would reach an idea. And again, this practical, getting out of this mindset of I have lots of ideas, but how do I put this into action? This is how you put it into action. You start doing rather than talking about doing. And we're hoping that this that today's presentations has given you a more concrete example on showing you how that is done. And you can do it because you're here and you're listening and you're in such a workshop. So you do have the drive and you do have the passion. It's just a matter of putting it into practice. So do drop us a line in the questions box on the side. So the idea is that once we have everyone who has shown interest in participating tomorrow in the group work, we will be sending out an email depending on your area of interest, depending on whether you have an idea, or depending on if you want to work on an existing idea. Whether you want to work on a one-on-one thing with your own original ideas, or if you want to work in a group and just explore and give it a shot and see what will happen. Your designated mentors will then contact you. We will be sharing your contact information with them. And you'll all be working with much smaller groups than we are here at the moment. And the idea is to have a more intimate working, brainstorming and development experience with that, so that everyone has the opportunity to pitch some ideas, to discuss in a healthy and safe environment of these ideas. And your mentors will be there to guide you. If at any point tomorrow you do have problems, you are experiencing issues, or you have a question, I will be available to contact via telephone, and the mentors know how to contact me basically. You will most probably be using a platform such as Zoom or maybe Messenger, depending on how you want to go about it. But essentially, it shouldn't take hours and hours or the whole day to discuss this. We're looking for maybe, if you want to divide it up into 2 sessions of 45 minutes, that should be plenty of time. What happens when we give ourselves more time to do something is that we spread out our energy to fill in that gap. So if you say we've got 45 minutes or an hour to do this, you will make sure that you get it done, and you'll work in a more focused manner, and things will move on more efficiently. So do drop us a line if you're interested in doing that. And then on the 27th, which goes out to everyone, including those not joining in on the group work, on the 27th, we will have the pleasure of having some panelists with us, some experts who have worked within the field of entrepreneurship, who have been involved in discussions regarding social entrepreneurship recently, especially during the pandemic lockdown that we went through. And we will get the opportunity to, you will get the opportunity to share your ideas and your business plans with these experts and just receive some friendly criticism and friendly feedback. It's not meant to be, oh, I'm pitching now, I have 3 minutes. If you want to give that a shot, go for it as well. But the idea is to make it fun, just to put the idea out there and to see whether this idea actually does have some potential and how it could be then improved. Patience, practice, perseverance, all of these things, it's basically just the first few steps to starting you on your way to becoming a social entrepreneur. And if not, you've given it a try, and you've given it your best shot, okay? So either way, it's a learning experience, and we hope you partake in that. So on the 27th, we will be sending you a new link, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they will be receiving a new link to connect, and will a new registration be required, Dimitra, as well?
Yes, we will send them a new registration link and new signing in email.
Excellent. So you'll probably receive the registration email a lot earlier than the link to sign in. So please register beforehand, but then remember to set a reminder on your phone so that 3 o'clock on the 27th, we will get going, and we will have other guests with us. So we're going to be extra careful with starting on time and making sure that everyone gets a chance to show us what they worked on in the group work, and also receive feedback for everyone. And then that will be our advanced workshop, and we will conclude our workshop, our first workshop session, I guess. So I guess if anyone has any remarks before we leave and say goodbye, have I covered everything? The one thing I haven't covered is the evaluation at the end.
Yes, important.
But I think that happened yesterday as well, and some of you most graciously did fill it out, but we were under the impression that it would happen upon the completion of the introductory workshop. So once we leave this platform, you will a survey will pop up asking you some questions. It'll only take 30 seconds to fill out, no more than that. But it is important for us to see how your experience has been so far with the workshops, and please do fill it out. Spare us 30 more seconds, and at the rate we're going, we'll be done before 6 o'clock, and maybe you can use your time that remains in that way to give us back to us some feedback. And with that, I think I've covered everything for the ending. Let's get some last remarks from our experts and presenters. Thank you so much for presenting again today.
Well, thank you for bearing out with us and listening to us. Bye-bye, everybody.
It's always a pleasure, Yanis. Thank you again. Michalis, any last words?
On my behalf, I would say that you showed me having enthusiasm over the creation of several entities, several social enterprises. Give it a try. Even if you have a job, even if you have a place to work, cooperate with others and create something that you will be proud of. It's an experience that I believe that each and every one of us should at least try. And at the end, you will have a story and a journey that you would really treasure. That's what I have in mind, and that's what I'm doing for my life.
Sounds like it came straight from the heart, Michalis. Thank you so much. Kyriaki, would you like to say any last words before we say goodbye?
Yes. What can I say? Hope to see you on 27th. Please be with us to continue this journey. I believe social entrepreneurship can be a wonderful journey, creative alternative ways that you may didn't think about, opportunities that can really change your life. And bear with us, continue, follow us in the social media, follow our website, and join us for other exciting, I would say, activities that follow.
Yes, hopefully experiences that will not repeat in front of the screen, and will be out there again in, of course, in a safe manner, in a safe environment. Last but not least, Dimitra, special thanks to Dimitra for coordinating everything. She truly has been amazing with making sure that the cameras and the microphones and the handouts and even the cloud today. So it doesn't end for us here once. It's not just these 3 hours. We've been here since the morning, and Dimitra, I think you must have been awake throughout the night doing this as well. But a special thanks to you as well for all the work that you've put into making this go so smoothly. It's like this is what you've been doing all your life.
Thank you very much. This experience is actually going into my CV.
It should. It should.
New skills.
We need to be flexible during situations like that, and I would also like to thank you for coordinating wonderfully this session and the previous one yesterday. And I am very happy that we get the chance to share our experience from social initiatives, because we've been working with social initiatives, and especially with the Economic Initiative, with people that want to share that dream and that mission with us. So
thank you. Thank you for your kind words, Dimitra, and thank you to our participants for joining us again.
They're actually writing us thank you notes, so it's just letting you know.
Well, Once
you.
they've done the evaluation survey, I'm going to drop that in again right before we go. After you've done that, you can people who have expressed interest in the group work can expect an email from us within the next hour or so. And with the certificates, we will be checking and seeing who has attended which workshops. So once we complete the advanced workshop as well, then we'll be having a look and seeing who will be receiving which certificate for the workshops, and then writing it out accordingly so that it fits what you have done. And we will hopefully be handing those out in person. If not, we will have to get them done digitally, if that's going to be more feasible. But
Or by post.
perhaps, or by post. There are a few other things, like there are some wonderful other free goodies that I hoped to have with you as well. So we're gonna do our best to make sure that you get your certificates as well as the things, the promotional materials to you as well. But the certificates, one way or another, either digitally or in print, will be making it to either your inbox or your door. Who knows? We'll see how it progresses. Until tomorrow, I guess, for some of you, hopefully for a lot more than yesterday. Hopefully we've gotten a few more people on board, but see you tomorrow. And if not, we will see you on the 27th at our advanced workshop. Until then, have a wonderful weekend. Stay cool, enjoy the sun, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you back well rested for the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.